Hey guys, Mr. Hanky here, bringing you my first ever Vlad guide. Um, just so you know, it's gonna be really plain and simple, no pictures. Just gonna go through this Word document of stuff I laid out. Just want to make it easy. You don't even have to watch the video; you can just listen to it in the background. But anyways, let's jump into it and get started. So Vlad guide. This is updated for patch 7.14, which just came out yesterday or today. Anything in blue is what the majority does, like the pros, high elo, basically what you find on most guides, essentially. Anything in red is what I like to do personally. I'd say what I do has worked for me. I've been able to climb from silver 4 all the way to gold 4 on a 80% win rate on Vlad. So other than that, you can take whichever you like more. But this is definitely a guide for the lower elo or anyone who just wants to know about Vlad. So let's get started. Why would you want to play Vlad? Well, his sustain is like the most important aspect on his Q and his ult. It's my favorite thing about him. He's really hard to push out of lane. Secondly, my favorite thing about him is his burst damage. Honestly, most people don't expect it, especially early game. An empowered Q into a full drawn out E can take squishy for over half their health sometimes. Another thing I like about him is his outplay potential with his W. It's just amazing, especially when it's maxed. People have no idea how many Ws you can get off in a team fight and just survive with that sliver of health because of it. And then another thing I like about him is his team damage amplification on his ult especially. It's really unique to him. I mean, you have that mastery in the tree that amplifies other people's damage, but Vlad has it on his ult and it's way more powerful, 12%. So what role? Most people like to play him mid, but he's also viable top in a sense. Viable, I'll put in quotations. Here you see right now sitting at a 49% win rate mid. It can get, I've seen anywhere from 48% to 52% in the last couple of patches. Also for top, it's a lot lower. It's 45 to 47% right now. And it gets even worse at times. I've seen it dip down to 44%. And personally, I don't do as well on him top as I do mid. That's why in red, I say just play him mid. I think it's his best role. Summoner spells. For mid, most people take Flash Ignite or Flash Ghost. This is to help chase down people. Ignite is really good for getting some cheeky kills that people don't expect. Like when you have that full QE, just flash into them and Ignite finishes them off. Mid, I'll run Ignite, Teleport, or Exhaust. I'll especially run Exhaust if our support doesn't run it and our top lane doesn't. I just think it's one of the strongest summoner spells. I'll run Teleport if top doesn't run Teleport, and I think it's needed. But other than that, I'll run Ignite too. Top lane, I'll run Flash and Teleport, Ignite and Exhaust, like basically the standard. The pros and most guides will tell you to run Flash plus Teleport or Flash and Ghost. Flash and Ghost is pretty good for split pushing, believe it or not. It's really good for escapes because you can just W and Ghost away and you'll be fine. You just won't have teleport advantage. As far as skill levels, most people max Alt, of course, then Q into E into W. I definitely agree with that. If you, here I wrote no fear. By that I mean you have no fear of dying to either ganks or your mid laner. If you do have fear, believe it or not, maxing W secondly is not that bad. It just brings it on such a low cooldown. especially once it's max rank and you have 40% CDR, it gets as low as 8 seconds. So you can pop multiple of them in a team fight, and if you W to get away from a gank or your lane opponent, it'll be up in 8 seconds. Like, you won't have to miss too much XP, you won't have to miss too many minions CSing either. That's why a lot of games like to max it. I'll go over some of the matchups later, and I'll tell you when I like to max W secondly. For the runes, the standard is AP Quints, Magic Pen Reds, Scaling Health Yellows, and Scaling CDR Blues. Pretty much I do something weird. It was pretty popular the past season, I would say. I like to take Scaling CDR Quint. That gives you 5% late game. And 2 movement speed Quints. Magic Pen Reds, Scaling Health Yellows, and then Scaling CDR Blues. I do this because late game, once you're level 18, you get 20% CDR from this. That means you only have to buy 2 CDR items, and you're at 40% CDR on Vlad, which is huge. You can run AP Quints instead of these movement speed. I just like running the movement speed Quints because you get more Qs off, you get more E's off, and it's good for kiting with W too. I mean, you don't get more off, but it's easier to hit your opponent with them. And also, a little while back, Vlad had his movement speed nerfed. I think that helps out with it. Okay, number 6. Masteries. I'm just going to slide this on over. This is a lot easier. The standard for people running is either one of these. Assassin, Merciless, Bandit, Precision, and then Storm Raider Surge. This is what most guides in high elo like to run. Some people swear by it, and they like Intelligence and or Thunderlords. I'm not a big fan of this. I prefer running Sorcery, Expose Weakness. This is really nice because not only does your ult amplify the damage, but after it triggers and damages other people, this will kick in. So it's even more damage amplification on top. Of course, you want the AD CDR. I'm cocky and I think I'll get fed a lot of the time, so I'll run Bounty Hunter, Piercing Thoughts, and Deathfire Touch. I like this because it's good against tanks. I like the Burning. It's good when you build Leandries. And then for my other points, if you are feeling cocky, like you want to get ahead, you want to get your items quick, you can run, once again, either one of these. It's preference. Assassin, Merciless, and Bandit. This will give you a lot more gold income. But most games, you'll want to run this. And once again, this is what I like to run. This is good for when you build your items. A lot of the time they have like Zhonya's Spirit Visage, Banshee's Veil. You'll get more CDR. I mean, not more CDR, more armor or MR off that. If you feel like you're going to be roaming a lot, you can take Explorer. I just like to take this. Even this is good if you think you're going to get Dove. Masteries are pretty much preference, I would say. Okay, let's get rid of this. Let's move on to items. So they'll like to talk about on the guides and pros, Proto Belt, Dark Seal start. Well, we'll start at the beginning. Dark Seal, pots. You waste the mana on the Dark Seal, but all the other stats are good. Pots, you can either start 3 pots refillable, whatever you want, and they'll go into Proto Belt after getting the Hextech Revolver, Lucidity Boots, the CDR ones, Zhonya's, Deathcap, Voidstaff, Leandries. The only thing I don't like about this is if you run their setup, you only have like 30% CDR, so you really need to get blues, otherwise you won't hit 40. As for me, if you want to play like a puss, I like to start Doran Shield a lot of games, even if I go the man mode build, which we'll get to. But Doran Shield, the pots. I like to get a defensive CDR item. By this, it's usually whoever I'm laning against. So if I'm against a Zed, a Jace, I'll run Zonia's, a Spirit Visage, only if they really have 3 AP champions, or like a Syndra mid with a like Elise jungle, then I'll maybe first item Spirit Visage, or I'll grab a Banshees. CDR boots or Shen Tabai for your boot choices. This definitely if they're heavy on AD. For the another CDR defensive item to get me to like the 40% where I'll be capped. I would not, if you're running my rune setup, make sure you don't overcap the CDR. Leandries and a Void Staff, and then either a Rabdons or Ludens. I don't have it in here, but let's say your team's like getting really fed and you guys have no tank. It's not optimal, but if you feel like your team really should have a tank for team fights, you can kind of go tanky on Vlad. By that I mean you can pick up like Shen Tabai, Thornmail, your Spirit Visage, and then I would build probably Leandries, Ludens, Rabdons, or a Void Staff just to have hella damage anyways. But man mode, this is what I build most games. It's known as the Korean Vlad build. I mean, they always just throw Korea in front of it, but it's Dark Seal and pots and a Hextech Revolver. I don't know why I put that. I definitely meant what do you call it? Proto Belt. So scratch that. Proto Belt. Sork boots, Leandries, Rabdon's Void Staff, Luden's Echo. Here you're only hitting 30% CDR, but this is probably your optimal AP build. If you want to be a man, I mean, this is what you gotta run. But the Magic Pen on it is amazing. That is the main reason why you want to be running this. Magic Pen is amazing on Vlad. Remember how lethality had to be nerfed to scale? Magic Pen has not been nerfed. You can literally get your opponent down to like 1 or 2 MR by running a bunch of Magic Pen. I mean, I'm surprised they haven't touched it yet, but I'm glad they haven't at the same time. Anyways, we'll go over matchups. I grabbed this off LOL King, so thanks LOL King. His good matchups are Twisted Fate. Here you see Vlad wins 51% of the time. The reason for that is because you can W his gold cards. And that matchup, if it's a good Twisted Fate player, I might be maxing W just so I can evade more gold cards, because his gold card is going to be up before your W is. Talia, really good win rate. That's because she can't really do anything about you. You can like W all of her spells pretty much, and she just has no escape from you. Same thing with Katarina. She's so reliant on her E. Yes, her ult has built-in grievous wounds, but if you're Wing while she's ulting, she's going to miss all of her damage. Cassiopeia is another good matchup, just because you really have no dashes, so her grounding doesn't do too much, and she's so squishy. You can also outplay her ult not only by turning, but with your W, and basically you'll just blow her up before she can get all of her Eves in to kill you. Lux has you also have a very good win rate against Lux, just because your W can evade everything. This is another matchup I might be maxing W. Probably not against Cassiopeia. Probably not against Katarina. Be maxing E. I'm talking about secondary, of course, not maxing it first. Okay? You're always going to max Q first. Please know that. Please. I don't want to see any comments flaming me because I told you to max W and E. That I just told you right now that you need to be maxing Q, and then those. Okay, so these are mid laners that Vlad is weak against, and there's also more champions out there that is weak against, but the one thing that you should notice all these champions have in common is that they have burst. Vlad cannot do anything against burst. He needs his sustain, and if they burst you and you're dead, your sustain does nothing. And a lot of these champs too have like stuns or CC to lock you to keep you from being able to pull away. So Syndra, Anivia, Syndra just because she will delete you with an ult. There's like nothing you can do against it, and she can also stun you with her ball, I think it's E combo, and then she just unloads it, and her stun is long enough to where she stuns you and she ults, her damage will get off and you can't W in time. Anivia is really good against Vlad because her wall, she'll trump you. I'm just kidding. Let's not make this political. But anyways, yeah, your W does nothing against her wall. You have no escapes then. And she also has a stun and a lot of burst damage. I'm surprised about this, the Xerath. I guess it's just because he has a lot of burst, honestly, for a long range mage. And it's kind of strange to say that, but it's true. And you can only W for so long before he can hit you with the rest of his combo. Like, he can sit in his ult while you're Wing, and he'll just wait for you. For Orianna, she's good against you just because she has a shield, she has enhanced auto attacks, and she has a lot of burst when her ult is available. Otherwise, you shouldn't be too worried. Kassadin, he's just an anti-mage, so that's why he's on here. His spell shield is very good for trading against Vlad. I don't have any top lane matchups here. I would say that Vlad is not too good top right now for a couple of reasons. A lot of champions that are good into Vlad are very popular right now. We'll see after how they are once the patch kind of unfolds more. But like Ribbon, Fiora, they're good into Vlad, and they're pretty strong and picked a lot right now. So Vlad's pretty good into tanks though, just because you can rush Leandri's Torment if you're top lane, and that'll delete tanks with the burn. It won't delete, but you'll do a lot of damage to him with the burn and the magic pen. Okay, and lastly, how to play as Vlad. These are just like standard tips I can give you. You want to keep track of your Q. And by that, I mean you want to see when it's empowered, so you get that movement speed on it. With that, you can chase them. You can use it to zone. You can also use it to escape ganks. It's not listed here, but if your empowered Q is coming up and you gain that move speed, you can actually use that to run away. So sometimes don't be afraid to Q on your way out, so you build up that movement speed, especially if you're pretty deep in the lane. Secondly, know your W. By that, I mean know its cooldown at all times. You should, when you pop it, it goes on cooldown right away. You should know when it's up again. You should know how to use it to avoid damage or CC. Like, you should know that you can use it to evade Fizz ults, Zed ults, Darius ults. You gotta practice your timing for that. And then, of course, you can use it to escape like a Xerath stun or other forms of CC. Or any spells that just might finish you off, like a Kassadin Q. Just W it and it'll disappear. Secondly, you can use it to kite. So if you're getting ganked, it's a slow. And it heals you, even though it costs a lot of damage. So, like a lot of health, I should say, to use. But you can use it to cut away because it'll slow them, and then you're moving at the same movement speed away. So, not only you can use it to go into them to slow them down, but you can use it to slow them down to get away. And know that you can also use summoner spells and item actives while using it. Like Proto Belt in W is very popular, ghosting while in W is very popular, and flashing away while you're in W if you think you're gonna die as soon as you come out of it is very popular. Ooh, I'm gonna skip this song real quick. Alright, E mechanics. Know that the main thing is know that you can flash with it, and know when it's going to hit your opponent and when it's not. Oh, one thing I thought about, know your W. You can use it to help wave clear, but just make sure you're not vulnerable when you're using it. Like, you don't want to use it, lose a bunch of health, and then have a jungler gank, and then you have no W to cut away. Alright, so yeah, just know you can flash with it. You can't proto belt with it or anything, sorry. And then the two main combos that you'll see Vlad players use is you're gonna charge your E, you're gonna flash, you're gonna ult while charging your E still. You're gonna use E, and after you ult, they're gonna like gain more damage because of the damage amplification. I shouldn't say gain. They're gonna take more damage because the damage amplification. You want to do this while you have an empowered Q coming up. If you're running ignite, drop the ignite as soon as you Q, and then you can W. If you built proto belt, you can proto belt into them. Another thing you can do is if you don't have flash, you can swap proto belt for the flash and use that as a gap closer as well. And then if you have 40% CDR especially, by the time you blow all this, your E should be back up when you're coming out of W, so just E again, and then your Q will be up. And once again, I just covered, you can extend this combo with the use of Zonias or Proto Belt. That should be a given. Also know that you can Zonias in your W. And then the second combo, which isn't really too much of a combo, but you should know that you can do it, is if you hold E and go into your W, you can let go of E, and it'll let your let your E damage. Oh, my music stopped. Oh well. So before I get interrupted, sorry. You can hold, I think. Especially if you're low elo or new to Vlad, I think this is